$109 million, not bad for retirement pay. The Clintons finally released their tax returns.
But they haven't released their tax returns from last year.
Right, that's the problem.
The one thing they promised to do, give us your tax returns from last year, and they haven't done it. They've dumped out the bad news Friday. Joan, all they've done here is tell us they're not going to release their returns from last year. They can talk about extensions and giving us the details later. They were going to give us this information before April 15th, and they're not doing it.
Well,
am I right to suggest the real question is not how much they've made, but where they got it from?
Absolutely. I think that's true. And I think even the speeches, you really want to look at who is trying to curry influence.
But had they strike it so rich?
It's a scuzzy firm called Info USA that makes its living selling mailing lists to con men who call elderly and fleece them out of their savings.
We probe the paycheck. Plus, he said, she said, Obama can't win.
That's a no. We have been going back and forth in this campaign about who said what.
Tonight, probing the faux pas and setting the record straight. And Obama takes center stage tonight as polls show him pulling ahead. So stand by. We're live and at large and around the world.
Hi, everybody. The former First Lady is trying to make light of Snipergate this week on Jay Leno. Geraldo Rivera, and it has been a tough week for Senator Clinton, sandwiched as it was between her misstatements about Bosnia, the release of her family income tax returns, which show enormous earnings, and the most recent Rasmussen polls, which show Barack Obama with his largest lead ever in the race for the Democratic presidential nomination. The polls released just today also show Obama with a 23% lead in North Carolina. And while Clinton continues to cling to a lead in Pennsylvania, Obama is also gaining ground there in the Keystone State. Most ominously for Senator Clinton's campaign, the survey now gives Obama an almost 85% chance of gaining the Democratic nomination. But can he beat John McCain in November? Not according to Hillary, who allegedly told New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson he cannot win, Bill, he cannot win. Or did she?
That's a no. Let me say this about that. I don't talk about private conversations, but I have consistently made the case that I can win.
In a surprise move that is said to have reduced former President Bill Clinton to rage, Governor Richardson endorsed Hillary's rival Barack Obama and essentially called on Senator Clinton to withdraw from the race.
It is time for Democrats to stop fighting amongst ourselves and prepare for the tough fight we will have against John McCain in the fall.
But what about the substance of Hillary's complaint? Can Barack Obama win the White House, especially with the raw issue of race in America and the whole flap over his former pastor Jeremiah Wright? And who better to ask than former Clinton advisor Dick Morris of DickMorris.com. Dick, I read a column, your recent column, that seems to suggest that you have endorsed Barack Obama.
Well, no, I'm going to vote for John McCain. But I regard Hillary Clinton as a national emergency. So Barack Obama would be my choice in the Democratic primary. And I think he certainly can win. I think that he's more likely to win than Hillary. I think if Obama were the nominee, all of the voters who backed Hillary would fall in line behind Obama because they're Democratic Party loyalists, downscale, union members, pro-choice. The flip side, most of the Obama voters wouldn't vote. They're, college kids who are just in the process for the first time. They're African Americans who don't normally participate. And a lot of that vote would stay home, and some of it would go to McCain. So I think that when you look at the two candidates, clearly Obama has the better shot at winning. And the other thing is he has a lot less baggage than the Clintons. And we just saw an illustration of that when they released their tax returns about how much baggage they carry.
Well, how much money anyway, from the year 2000 to 2007, their cumulative total gross income, $109,175,175.
Now, you need to do a little bit of math here, and I'll give you the answer so I don't have to go crazy. There's about 52 million of that from speeches that he gave, about 29 million of it from the books that Bill Clinton wrote, 10 million from Hillary's book, 1 million from Hillary's salary, 1 million from Bill's pension. You add it up, and guess what? It doesn't come to 109 million. It comes to 94 million. There's 15 million unsourced. And that can only have come from two places, because Hillary Clinton every year has to disclose not the amount, but the sources of Bill's income as her husband. And she has two sources. She says more than $1,000 from each. She doesn't have to say how much. One is a scuzzy firm called Info USA that makes its living selling mailing lists to con men who call elderly and fleece them out of their savings. They sold lists like gullible seniors or elderly with Alzheimer's. And then the second
well,
is...
what's Clinton's connection to that?
He's paid by them. We have no idea what he does for it. We have no idea how much he's been paid for it. Hillary's disclosed over $1,000 a year that he's been paid by these folks. And the second is a partnership that Bill and Ron Burkle, the supermarket magnate, and the Emir of Dubai set up of the three of them, kind of like a sovereign wealth fund. And Bill was essentially paid a commission for bringing the Emir into Burkle's company that was called Ukaipa for managing their investment. And from these two sources, he was paid up to $15 million. Now, it couldn't be any other source, otherwise Hillary would have had to have listed it. Now, that raises a key question. Has the Emir of Dubai, a country that won't let Israelis travel there, you have to have a special dispensation if you have an Israeli stamp on your passport, cited for human rights violations by the State Department, the object of a class action suit by parents for kidnapping children and enslaving them as child camel jockeys, wonderful place. If that Emir is basically paying off the former president of the United States and the husband of the putative next president of the United States with up to $15 million of income. And what did he do for it?
And I guess somebody will examine that. I don't know exactly how you could determine it, because they don't have to answer over $1,000.
Well, the first thing you do is you ask.
Oh, you can ask certainly.
Because when Bill Clinton goes out to give a speech, everybody in that audience should be asking, where did the extra $15 million come from, and what did you do for it?
When I raise my hand, I'll say Dick Morris asked that. I also, in fairness, have to point out that they paid more taxes than most people who make over $10 million a year, and they gave more in charity than most super rich people.
Wait a minute with the charity. We don't know what charitable gifts they gave, but many of those may have been to the Clinton Foundation.
They were.
Which they control, which can pay for political staff and a lot of other expenses that are, we're not just talking about curing cancer.
We have a culture of corruption, we have cronyism, we have incompetence. I predict to you that this administration will go down in history as one of the worst that has ever governed our country.
Fool me twice, shame on me. Hillary's commander-in-chief problem. It isn't that they can't see the solution. It is that they can't see the problem.